Emeka sat in his cramped university dorm room, staring at his empty bank account balance. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that he hadn't eaten anything substantial in 2 days. Being a final year economics student at Hilltop University was tough, but being a broke final year student was even tougher. His part-time job at a local restaurant barely covered his rent, and his tuition fees loomed over him like a dark cloud. His parents back in the village had done their best, but their small farm couldn't keep up with the rising cost of his education. He needed a way out, fast. Scrolling through social media, he noticed a recurring theme: women complaining about family gatherings where they were pressured to bring a man home. Others lamented about ex-boyfriends who had moved on too quickly, leaving them feeling unwanted. And then it hit him. What if he could be the solution to their problems? The idea sounded crazy at first, but the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He was good looking, well spoken, and knew how to charm people when necessary. He could rent himself out as a fake boyfriend, someone women could hire to attend weddings, introduce to their parents, or make an ex jealous. Grabbing a notebook, he scribbled down a few services he could offer: meet the parent special, a polished, well-mannered boyfriend for family events, jealousy package, perfect for making an ex regret their choices, wedding date rescue, no more awkward questions from aunties, social media flex, a temporary Instagram or Facebook boyfriend. He set up an anonymous social media page, created a professional-looking flyer, and posted his services under the name Boyfriend for Hire. Within an hour, his DMs were flooded. At first, Emeka was skeptical. Would women actually pay for this? Will women actually pay for this? But his first client, a law student named Tola, paid him 50,000 naira to accompany her to a wedding where her ex was the groom. The night was easy. He held her hand, whispered sweet nothings, and even danced with her. By the end of the event, her ex looked miserable and she left glowing with satisfaction. Word spread like wildfire. Women from different backgrounds reached out. Some wanted to impress their families. Others needed a temporary boyfriend to fend off persistent suitors. Within 2 months, Emeka was making more money than he ever had. He developed a system. He had consultation calls, set clear boundaries, no intimacy beyond light affection in public, and ensured his clients felt safe. With a carefully curated wardrobe and a bit of acting skill, he became the perfect boyfriend. Despite his growing success, he kept his identity a secret from his university friends. They knew he suddenly had more money, but he let them assume he had a high-paying tutoring gig. Everything was going well until he met Amara. Amara was different. She wasn't like his usual client who wanted to make exes jealous or impress their mothers. She needed a boyfriend for a very serious reason, one she refused to explain in detail. She offered to pay double his usual rate and requested a long-time arrangement, 3 months. That was unheard of in his business. Most clients needed him for a single night or event, maybe a weekend at most. Still, he agreed. The money was too good to pass up. From their first meeting, he knew he was in trouble. Amara was breathtakingly beautiful, dark-skinned, confident, and intelligent. Unlike his other clients, she didn't treat him like a paid actor. She looked at him like he was real. At first, he thought she was just a great actress, but then she started asking personal questions, wanting to know about his dreams, his childhood, his family. They went on dates, real ones. She laughed at his jokes, held his hand like she meant it, and sometimes, when no one was watching, she stared at him in a way that made his heart race. For the first time since he started his business, Emeka found himself breaking his own rules. He was falling for a client. Just when he thought things couldn't get any more complicated, he discovered the truth about Amara. One evening, after one of their dates, he ran into a former classmate who looked at him in shock. "Guy, do you know who you are with?" his friend asked. What do you mean? That's Amara Ojukwu, the daughter of Chief Ojukwu, the politician running for governor, the girl who's supposed to be engaged to the son of a senator. Emeka's blood ran cold. Amara had never mentioned an engagement. Later that night, he confronted her. She signed, looking away. It's complicated, Emeka. Then explain it to me. She hesitated before finally saying, I was promised to someone as part of a political alliance, but don't want to marry him. My father is forcing me. I needed someone to make it look like I was already in a relationship. That's why I hired you. The weight of her words settled between them like a storm. If her father found out, Emeka could be in a serious danger. Emeka knew he could walk away. This was bigger than any job he had taken before. If her father discovered their arrangement, he could lose everything. But the problem was, he wasn't pretending anymore. He had fallen for Amara and he wanted her for real. One night, Amara appeared at the door of his house, her eyes filled with panic. My father found out. His heart stopped. What? He thinks you're real. He sent people to investigate you. Emeka's words spun. If her father dug deep enough, he would uncover the truth. That Emeka wasn't a real boyfriend, just a hired one. And once that happened, everything would collapse. The next few days were chaos. Chief Ojukwu summoned Emeka for a private meeting. I don't know who you are, boy, the chief said coldly. But if you think you can play games with my daughter, you are mistaken. Emeka knew he had two choices. Walk away and let Amara marry a man she didn't love, or take a risk that could destroy everything. In the end, he chose love. He and Amara staged their own real escape, leaving behind the world of wealth and politics for a fresh start. It wasn't easy. They had to disappear for a while, but in the end, it was worth it. His business was gone, but he had found something more valuable, a real relationship, built on love, not transactions. And for the first time since starting his business, Emeka wasn't for hire. Emeka and Amara disappeared from the city overnight. With what little money he had left, they boarded a bus heading far away from Abuja, deep into the eastern part of the country. Amara was quiet the entire journey, her fingers laced with his squeezing occasionally, as if to pressure herself that this was real, that they were really doing this. By the time they reached Enugu, Emeka had a plan. He still had his degree, his intelligence, and his drive. While the boyfriend for hire business was gone, he could start afresh. But first, they had to survive. They rented a small one-bedroom apartment in a quiet part of town. Emeka picked up tutoring jobs, helping students prepare for their exams, while Amara, who had once lived a life of luxury, found work at a local cafe. The transition was difficult, but for the first time in a long time, they were free. At night, they would sit on their small balcony, talking about their past, their dreams, and what the future could hold. Amara, who had once lived a life of privilege and influence, found a strange sense of peace in simplicity. For the first time, no one was telling her who to love, what to do, or how to behave. For Emeka, it was both exhilarating and terrifying. He had risked everything, his business, his education, and safety for Amara. But as he watched her laugh under the soft glow of the moon, he knew he didn't regret a thing. One evening, as they shared a modest meal, Amara signed, "We can't run forever, Emeka." He looked up from his plate. "I know. My father won't stop looking for me," she said. "And when he finds me, I don't know what will happen." Emeka swallowed. He had been pushing that thought away, hoping that distance would keep them safe. But deep down, he knew that Chief Ojukwu wasn't the type of man to let things go. True to Amara's fears, her father eventually found them. It started with strange men loitering near their apartment. Then one day, Emeka received a message from an unknown number. "Come to the Hilltop Hotel at 7 p.m. Come alone." He knew who it was from. Despite Amara's protests, Emeka went. He found Chief Ojukwu waiting for him in a private dining room. Dressed in his usual flowing agbada, his expression unreadable. Two bodyguards stood by the door. "Sit," the chief said. Emeka obeyed. "I must say, you are braver than I expected," Chief began. "Or perhaps foolish." Emeka remained silent. Chief Ojukwu leaned forward. "I did my research on you, boy. A struggling university student, no powerful family name, no wealth, but somehow you thought you could take my daughter from me." Emeka met his gaze. "I didn't take her, she left." The chief smirked. "You think that matters? She's my daughter, my only daughter. Do you know what that means?" Emeka didn't respond. The chief leaned back and signed. "I am going to make this easy for you. Leave Amara. Disappear. If you do, I will make you rich. Enough money to care for yourself, your family, your future. But if you refuse," his expression darkened, "then I will destroy you." Emeka felt his hands clenched under the table. The offer was tempting. He could finally be free of his struggles, but at what cost? When Emeka returned home, Amara could tell something was wrong. "What did he say?" she asked. Emeka hesitated, but telling her everything. Amara's face paled. "He's trying to buy you off," he nodded. "And what are you going to do?" Emeka took a deep breath. "I love you, Amara. But if staying with me means you will always be looking over your shoulder, then maybe." "Don't you dare." She grabbed his hands. "Don't you dare finish that sentence." He looked into her eyes, seeing fire, determination, and something else, trust. "We don't come all this way for you to give up now," she whispered. "I won't let him control my life, not anymore." A plan began to form in Emeka's mind. If Chief Ojukwu wanted to play dirty, Emeka would fight back. With Amara's help, they reached out to a trusted journalist, exposing her father's attempt to force her into a political marriage. A few well-placed leaks combined with pressure from women's rights groups forced the chief into a difficult position. The media backlash was swift. No politician wanted to be seen as the man who forced his daughter into a marriage for power. As the scandal grew, Chief Ojukwu was left with no choice but to release a public statement. He claimed he had always supported his daughter's happiness and that her engagement had been misunderstood by the press. Privately, he sent a final message to Amara. "You win, but don't come back." The battle was over, but at a cost. Amara had lost her family, her inheritance, her old life, but she had gained something far more precious: freedom. A year later, Emeka and Amara had built a new life together. Emeka had started a legitimate business, a relationship coaching service, teaching men and women how to navigate love and dating with confidence. He used his past experience to help others, but this time it was real. And Amara, she had gone back to school, determined to make something of herself on her own terms. One evening, as they walked through the bustling streets of their new home, Amara squeezed Emeka's hand. "You never did charge me for being my fake boyfriend," she teased. He chuckled. "That's because you were the first client I wanted to keep." She smiled. "Good, because I am not letting you go." And this time, neither of them was pretending.